The movie starts with a man named John walking alone in the city at night. There is someone wearing a Jester mask walking behind him, but John does not care and continues his way. Then John sees his daughter Emma as a child, and John knows these are just hallucinations he is having. This is because he feels guilty since he left his daughter Emma and her mother long ago and went to marry another woman and had a daughter named Jess with her. Emma keeps appearing to John as he walks until he reaches the bridge. At that moment, John takes a photo out of his pocket of himself with his daughter. Then he grabs his phone and calls her and apologizes for everything he did to her. He tells her that he is trying to correct his mistake because he left her when she was young and did not check on her all the past years. But Emma refuses to listen to anything from her father and ends the call. At that moment, the Jester approaches John and puts his hand on his shoulder. John tells him with sadness that Emma refused to forgive him. It turns out that John was calling his daughter because the Jester asked him to do so, and it shows that the Jester is a very evil person with supernatural powers. Because John failed, the Jester puts a noose around his neck and controls him from a distance. He throws him into the water. The next day is John's funeral, and his daughter Jess stands in front of his photo, sad, while his daughter Emma stands behind her. It is clear she is not sad for her father's death like her sister. After that, Emma leaves to call her mother on the phone. At that moment, Jess's friends Will, Maddie, and Alexa come to offer their condolences. They are surprised that Emma attended the funeral because they know Emma has been distant from her father and sister for a long time and does not like to communicate with them at all. At this moment, Emma tells her mother the funeral is over and she will rest from her travel and leave the city the next day. When her mother asks her about her sister Jess, she says Jess wanted to see her before she travels. While Emma is on the phone, she sees the Jester dancing in front of her father's grave and is surprised by his behavior, but ignores him, though she stays surprised when she sees the Jester suddenly disappear. Emma leaves the cemetery, and the Jester stands watching her from afar. The cemetery keeper comes and asks the Jester to leave, but he is surprised in front of the coffin. He tries to push the old man and tells him to leave, or he will call the police. He is surprised again by his colleague calling the police to report the Jester. His colleague takes out his phone to call the police, but hesitates when he sees the old man lying on the ground, having hit a rock and died. He notices that someone tied his colleague's shoelaces together, causing him to fall. When he sees the Jester in front of him, he accuses him of what happened to his colleague. Suddenly, the man starts to suffocate and cannot breathe. The Jester approaches him, pretending to help by patting his back, but chokes him further, and he spits out the apple he was eating and dies. After that, the Jester walks calmly away from the cemetery. At night, Halloween celebrations begin in the city. Emma leaves the hotel and goes to the pub to meet her sister Jess. Jess is happy that Emma agreed to meet her, but Emma does not like Jess because she blames her for losing her father. Jess starts telling Emma about her life and says she feels lonely. She tells her her mother died a long time ago, and after her father died, there is no one left in her family. Jess's words make Emma change her opinion about her. Emma decides to share about her own life and tells her she works in a music band and talks about incidents that happened to her at work. Jess gives Emma a photo of her as a child with her father and tells her the photo was always in his pocket. Jess tries to show Emma that her father was always thinking of her, but Emma replies that John was never her real father, as he never made her feel that way. She remembers only the pain he caused her and her mother, and tells Jess she can never forget the day he left them or her mother's tears at that time. Then they found out he married another woman, had a child, and stayed with them his whole life and never checked on Emma or her mother all these years. Jess wants to apologize to Emma and make her understand she did not mean to hurt her, but Emma refuses to listen and leaves. Jess is upset and goes to pay the bill. A local man at the pub sees her upset and tells her not to be sad about her father's death. He reveals he was her father's colleague for 15 years and never saw anything good in him. He says her father was very mysterious and never dealt with anyone, to the extent that everyone at the factory suspected he was communicating with evil spirits. He tells her he doubts her father committed suicide and thinks spirits killed him instead. The pub owner interrupts and asks him to stop, saying this is not the right time for such talk. Emma returns to her hotel, but suddenly sees the Jester in front of her. He offers her a set of playing cards to pick one, but she thinks he is one of the Halloween revelers and walks away. He appears again in front of her, so Emma gets tired and runs from him, reaches a market, and keeps watching until he leaves. Eric, the market owner, asks her about the Jester, and she tells him he is bothering her. It turns out Eric likes Emma and tries to get to know her, but she refuses. She buys a bottle of alcohol and leaves. At that same time, the Jester walks in the street and sees two children collecting candies from outside a house. When the smaller child sees him, he offers him some candies. The Jester approaches him, does a trick, and gives him a lot of candies. When the older brother sees this, he mocks the Jester, saying it's an old trick. The Jester puts his hand in the bag of candies, takes all of them, and puts them into the young child's bag. The older child gets upset and tries to grab his own candies back. Then he finds the Jester's hand coming out of the bag and grabbing his hand. The children's parents look at the Jester, but see that his hand is not attached to his body. They throw the candies on the ground and run away from him. Meanwhile, Jess returns home and secretly smokes while watching a ghost movie. Suddenly, she sees the shadow of a person standing behind the window. At that moment, there is a knock at the door, and she goes to open it to find her friends coming to celebrate Halloween with her. Jess looks outside but finds no one standing by the window, so she goes in to sit with her friends. They start talking about ghosts and ask Jess if she will come to the horror festival like every year. Jess is affected because her father used to take her to that festival always. She leaves her friends and goes to her room, looks at her picture with her father, and feels sad when she sees her father has disappeared from the picture and now sits behind her on the chair. Jess keeps telling herself that what is happening is not real and that these are just hallucinations. She goes back to her friends and tells them she will go to the horror festival with them. Emma is walking in the street, drinking until she gets drunk. When she sees a police car, she hides her bottle in her clothes to avoid getting arrested. Suddenly, she finds the Jester appearing in front of her, handing her the playing cards to pick one. Emma chooses a card and runs away while the Jester finishes his trick. She leaves him and walks on, but finds him following her. Emma pushes him and shouts at him to stay away. Her bottle falls to the ground and breaks. The Jester grabs a piece of the broken glass. Emma thinks he wants to kill her and tells him she is not afraid of death and asks him to kill her to free her from her sadness. But suddenly the Jester collapses on the ground in front of her as if he is dead. Emma is shocked, but then he stands up again, still alive, so she gets scared and runs away quickly. She goes back to the market and tells Eric what happened, but he does not believe her and thinks she is drunk, talking nonsense. He asks her to leave or he will call the police, but Emma refuses to go and enters the bathroom to wash her face. When she comes out, she finds two police officers and tells them about the Jester who killed himself and came back to life. Of course, they mock her and ask if she has been drinking anything else, since Eric told them she bought a whole bottle of alcohol from him. Suddenly, the Jester appears in front of them, pointing at Emma. The police officers ask him to remove his mask, but he does not listen and walks away. Suddenly, he appears behind Emma, who is terrified and tries to stay away from him. One of the officers approaches the Jester and asks him again to remove his mask, but the Jester ignores him. Suddenly, the lights go out, and the Jester attacks, removing the officer's head from his body. Eric runs out of the market into the street, and Emma also runs but loses her balance and falls, losing consciousness. The second officer pulls out his gun and shoots at the Jester, but the Jester grabs the bullet and throws it aside. At that moment, Emma wakes up, gets out of the market, and escapes. The Jester finishes off the police officers and leaves calmly into the street. At this time, Jess is at the horror festival and sees her friend Maddie going into the Jester's house. She tries to call her, but Maddie does not hear, and when Jess follows her inside, she finds a dummy hanging from the ceiling. She remembers the moment of her father's death and feels very sad. Suddenly, someone puts a hand on her shoulder, and Jess screams with fear. It turns out to be her friend Maddie joking with her. Jess gets angry and leaves, so Maddie follows her to make peace. Jess remembers her father's death, and also that now she has no father, no mother, and even her only sister has distanced herself. Maddie hugs her and tells her that she and her friends will always be beside her and never leave her. They rejoin their friends, but Jess is still sad. Maddie asks Will to take care of Jess while she goes to get her something to drink. At that moment, Jess sees her father in front of her. She approaches him, wanting to talk to him, but then sees herself as a child, running to her father. Meanwhile, the Jester sits in front of Will and does a magic trick for him. Will is impressed, but the Jester takes his teeth and his eyes. When Maddie and Alexa see what happened, they run to help Will, but he falls to the ground and dies. Alexa calls for Jess so they can leave. She tries to leave, but the Jester attacks and she also falls dead. Then the Jester heads toward Jess. Maddie tells Jess to run away quickly, but the Jester controls her with his magic, and they sing until she falls to the ground and dies. Meanwhile, Emma is still trying to escape the Jester when her mother calls. Her mother is surprised that Emma is afraid of such a Jester, since she has always been strong and unafraid. Emma is shocked by her mother's words and wonders how she knew about the Jester's story. Suddenly, the Jester appears and Emma realizes it's him speaking, not her mother. She is shocked and asks what he wants from her. The Jester tells her that her sister Jess is good and better than her, and when he was with her, she was never cruel. Emma asks about her sister and where she is. The Jester wonders at Emma's sudden concern for her sister, since she refused to get close to her and abandoned her. He gives Emma a choice: either leave and forget everything or continue the game. Emma says she will not leave the city before making sure her sister is safe first. The Jester is pleased with her decision and points towards the bridge. She sees her father there and runs to him. She finds him with a noose around his neck. Her father tells her she is the reason for his death, since he begged her to listen and accept his apology, but she refused. Suddenly, he puts the noose around her neck and says she was the one who should have died, not him. Emma is terrified when the rope pulls her from the bridge and she falls off. She finds herself in the cemetery where her father is buried. When she gets up, she finds her sister Jess as a child standing in front of her, saying her father left her alone and that she is lost and can no longer find her way. Emma tells her she is not real and walks away. Emma then sees Jess running to their father, and they enter a house inside the cemetery. The Jester appears and signals Emma to follow them. When Emma goes inside, she finds her father playing with Jess. He approaches Emma and says he knows she always wished for him to play with her, like he does with Jess. He admits he never loved her or her mother, and that's why he left them. When he realized his mistake and regretted it, Emma refused to forgive him, so he killed himself. He then takes a knife and stabs himself. Emma screams and cries. Suddenly, her sister Jess appears grown up and hands her the knife, asking her to kill herself too to find relief and not feel regret for the rest of her life. But Emma realizes it is a trick by the Jester, aiming to make her feel guilt and kill herself like he did with her father. Emma grabs the knife and kills Jess, saying she is not real. But then she finds herself in another place and sees Jess fall to the ground, about to die. The Jester appears, happy about what happened, but Emma attacks him, stabs him repeatedly, and tells him she is not afraid because she now knows the truth. She has realized he is just a disease that affects people who feel regret, and that everything happening is an illusion, not real. She tells him she does not regret anything she did in her life. The Jester leaves and walks away. Afterwards, Emma stands in front of her father's grave and tells him she is not the reason for his death, and that it was his regret that killed him. She tells him she will never let that feeling control her. Suddenly, the jester appears beside her, but she completely ignores him and walks away. Later, Jess goes to the pub to sit with her sister and friends. The movie ends. If you like the video, do not forget to like and subscribe to Cinema in a Nutshell. See you in the next summary. Bye.